Imagine scrolling through a property listing and seeing this. A real, abandoned lighthouse sitting on the edge of the Atlantic Ocean, going for under £1. £1. That is less than a can of Coke from a vending machine, less than a bus fare, less than anything that has ever made financial sense in the history of British property. Sounds like a scam, right? Here is the thing. It is not exactly a scam, but it is absolutely not what it looks like either. What these listings quietly hide behind that £1 price tag is a queue of problems so brutal, so expensive, and so relentless that most buyers run screaming back to their overpriced city flats within 18 months. Collapsing roofs, violent ocean storms, renovation bills that hit 6 figures before you have unpacked a single cardboard box, insurance quotes that arrive like a punch to the face. But here is what nobody tells you. Buried inside these nightmare properties is one of the strangest cost of living arbitrage opportunities left in the entire United Kingdom. Some people are quietly turning these abandoned coastal ruins into profitable holiday retreats, luxury Airbnb investments, and genuine financial escape plans, while everyone else is trapped in a bidding war over a 2-bedroom flat above a chicken shop in Zone 4. Stay with me, because the final lighthouse on this list is so absurdly priced that you will immediately start Googling what seasonal depression feels like in the North Sea. Number 1. Copinsay, Lighthouse Keepers' Houses, Orkney. Former lighthouse keeper buildings near Copinsay have surfaced for under £100,000, which sounds extraordinary until you understand exactly what you are actually purchasing. The median home price in most of southern England would buy you 3 of these. But that discount exists because you are not buying a house, you are buying a logistics problem with a view. Here is the thing. Boat-only access means every single repair, every bag of cement, every licensed plumber has to cross open water before they even reach your front door. Marine corrosion eats through metal faster than you expect. Generators fail, imported fuel costs a fortune, and Amazon Prime becomes mythology. Real talk. Winter storms in Orkney are so aggressive and so sustained that residents can be completely isolated for days at a stretch. The building codes for coastal renovation in this area are not casual suggestions. They are enforced, expensive, and designed for structures that can survive what the North Atlantic genuinely throws at them. Translation: you are not buying cheap property. You are volunteering for North Atlantic survival mode with a mortgage attached. Picture yourself in Copinsay, drinking coffee while waves smash against black cliffs outside your window. It feels cinematic for about 48 hours. Then the power cuts out, the ferry is cancelled, and the nearest hardware store is a 30-minute boat ride away in horizontal rain. Number 2. South Stack Lighthouse Area. Wales derelict coastal auction properties near South Stack in Anglesey have appeared below £100,000, which makes absolute sense once you spend a January there. The area survives almost entirely on seasonal tourism traffic. Outside summer, economic activity slows to something that makes a ghost town look optimistic. But here is what nobody tells you. The wind near South Stack does not blow. It attacks, structurally, repeatedly, with personal malice. Add increasingly strict planning regulations and expanding short-term rental restrictions across Wales, and your dream renovation project can rapidly become a years-long bureaucratic war with the local council before you have laid a single tile. Translation: beautiful views, violent weather, a job market so thin you could read through it. The septic systems in older coastal properties here are frequently non-standard and expensive to upgrade to current building codes. That is a cost most auction listings conveniently forget to mention until you are already emotionally attached. Number 3. Dungeness, Lighthouse Zone, Kent. tiny cottages and strange coastal properties around Dungeness occasionally hit auction markets under £150,000, and the reason is simple. Dungeness looks like a post-apocalyptic film set because it essentially functions like one. The terrain is exposed shingle, the sky is enormous and grey, and it sits directly beside a nuclear power station, which frightens away enough ordinary buyers to keep prices genuinely suppressed. Here is the thing, flood risk insurance in this zone is not just expensive. For some properties, it is functionally unavailable or priced so aggressively that it consumes any financial advantage the low purchase price created, and unincorporated coastal land near flood risk zones carries long-term liability that does not appear in the listing photos. Translation: it is the cheapest place in Britain to feel like the last human being alive. Real talk. If you are remote working, semi-retired, and genuinely indifferent to nightlife, Dungeness has a dark, strange logic to it. But if you are using this as a lifestyle purchase without a clear revenue model, that discount will cost you far more than it saved. Number 4. Flamborough Head, East Yorkshire. Abandoned or heavily damaged coastal homes near Flamborough Head have sold between £90,000 and £140,000, and the discount is geological rather than cosmetic. The coastline here is literally disappearing. Coastal erosion is not a future risk. It is an active, documented, ongoing process eating away at the cliff edges right now. But here is what nobody tells you. Mortgage lenders increasingly refuse standard terms on properties within measurable erosion zones. Insurance becomes a negotiation, and resale value depends entirely on which direction the cliff decides to move over the next decade. Translation: cheap mortgage, expensive existential questions about geology. Picture yourself in Flamborough, watching seabirds spiral above white chalk cliffs while fishing boats disappear into the grey North Sea. Then picture reading a coastal survey report over breakfast that politely informs you that your property boundary has moved 6 inches closer to a 400-foot drop. Number 5. Heartland Point, Lighthouse Cottages, Devon. Former Lighthouse cottages near Heartland Point in Devon occasionally appear priced between £180,000 and £300,000, which sounds expensive until you compare it against the median home price anywhere near the Devon coast that has a working road. Here, the deal exists because maintaining these properties is not a renovation project. It is a permanent negotiation with the Atlantic Ocean. Wind damage, salt corrosion, roof degradation. Every exposed surface deteriorates faster in this environment than standard building materials are rated for. The roads leading in are narrow enough to make experienced drivers genuinely anxious, and emergency response times can stretch well beyond what urban buyers consider normal. Real talk. This is not a property for someone who treats maintenance as optional. This is a property for someone who understands that the purchase price is simply the entry fee. Translation: you are trading convenience for cliffs every single day. Number 6. Muckleflugger Area, Shetland Islands. Remote Shetland properties occasionally surface below £100,000, and the number looks extraordinary until you calculate the actual cost of living at the northernmost point of the United Kingdom. Groceries, furniture, building supplies, specialist tradespeople, everything carries a transportation premium that the listing price does not reflect, and the seller will not volunteer. Here is the thing. This is not aesthetic isolation. This is logistical isolation. Flights get cancelled. Ferries get delayed for days. The weather does not negotiate with your schedule or your deadlines, and the winter darkness carries a psychological weight that people who have not experienced it consistently underestimate. Translation: a financial oasis for genuine introverts, a slow-motion psychological crisis for everyone else. But here is what nobody tells you. For remote workers with stable income and low social dependency, the cost of living arbitrage at this level of remoteness is genuinely extraordinary. Your money goes further. Your stress level levels can drop significantly. Your options expand dramatically. If you can handle the darkness and the silence, the numbers actually work. Number 7. Trevose Head, Cornwall Fixer. Upper coastal properties near Trevose Head occasionally fall below £175,000, and Cornwall's housing market is currently one of the strangest economic contradictions in British real estate. The scenery attracts wealthy second home buyers, local wages remain comparatively low, and the combination has created a tension between incoming buyers and established communities that is now openly hostile in certain parishes. Real talk. Skilled tradespeople in Cornwall are overwhelmed. Renovation timelines in this area run slow because demand from second home renovations has absorbed available capacity for years. If your financial model depends on completing a renovation within a specific time frame, Cornwall will test that assumption aggressively. Translation: millionaire scenery, local economy complications, and a roofer who cannot see you until sometime in 2027. Number 8. Bardsey Lighthouse area. Wales' remote Welsh coastal properties near Bardsey Island occasionally appear under £120,000 when heavily damaged, and the damage is never purely structural. These properties are cheap because they are operationally difficult in ways that go beyond cost. Limited transport links, strict conservation area regulations, tiny local labour markets, and an isolation that is not cinematic but genuinely physically quiet. Here is the thing: the silence at this level of remoteness does something specific to people who have spent their entire adult lives surrounded by urban noise. Some people find it transformative, some people find it unbearable, and there is almost no way to know which category you fall into until you are already living there in February. Translation: this is not an escape from modern life. This is a negotiation with loneliness conducted entirely on loneliness's terms. Picture yourself in Bardsey, sitting outside a restored lighthouse, watching stars with zero light pollution, no traffic, no notifications, no noise except wind and waves, and the slow, creeping realization that you have not had a real conversation with another human being in 3 days. The strange, uncomfortable truth about Britain's abandoned lighthouse market is this: affordable living did not disappear. It just moved somewhere colder, windier, harder to reach, and much more honest about what it actually costs to exist there. These properties are cheap because most people do not genuinely want isolation. They want the fantasy of isolation. They want the Instagram version, which only exists in July, in good weather, before the heating bill arrives. The moment reality shows up, the storms, the maintenance, the loneliness, the structural survey results, most buyers retreat immediately back towards civilization and its overpriced comforts. But financially, the arbitrage is real. If you are flexible, remote working, semi-retired, or willing to build a legitimate tourism revenue model, some of these properties can genuinely outperform anything you could afford in a city that charges you for the privilege of being there. Stop paying for a lifestyle you cannot afford in a city that does not need you. Before you move, never purchase coastal property without getting insurance quotes first, not after. Assume renovation costs will double whatever your initial estimate is, because they will, and visit during winter before you sign anything, because the Instagram version of these places and the January version are completely different properties with completely different psychological price tags. The opportunity is real. The challenge is real. The question is which one you are actually ready for.